Okay, so I guess we'll get going, and the format's just pretty much roundtable. It's pretty casual, so
Great.
it's called Wing It for a reason. We tend to stick to a very loose agenda. If no, this is the most we've had for an agenda actually in a long time, so that's good. Wing It Podcast, goosedigital.com, episode, I think 60. Who do we have?
Chris O'Neill.
Renata Ramastra.
And Karen Donaldson from Camp Ooch and Camp Trillium.
Awesome. And Michael Turksani. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for joining us. So we're super big fans of Camp Ooch. Chris, why don't you do the little intro, because this has kind of been your baby, and just talk about what it means to us and kind of what we've been doing with it, and then we'll get into the agenda.
Great, thanks, Mike. So behind Mike, you can see there's a little photo. Mike and several of our team members. It's a little cut off there. I'm actually in that picture too, but it's sort of cut off by the other pictures.
Sorry.
Just to let you know. Anyways, we started participating in the Camp Ooch run in 2018. This will be our fourth year. We're really, thrilled with the Camp Ooch team, who've been very, very supportive as we have, each year we've sort of gained a little, put a little bit more up on the board, and really sort of brought the team together too. Like for us, starting in 2018, it was like, hey, let's try this and let's do this thing. Every year we have a few more runners from our team, a few more, sort of pledgers who sort of learn what we're doing. And so every year it's been really, really the hockey stick. It's really been, it's been going up and up, and we're excited about being able to contribute. We've had visits from the Camp Ooch team at various times. Looking forward to Karen talking a little bit more about what's been happening this year and, into the future about the programs that are going on there. But effectively, like we're touched by, the what it is that Camp Ooch is all about. Taking care of people, taking care of families that are going through something, very, very difficult. And I don't think, everybody has been affected by various forms of cancer in their lives, whether it's somebody who's close to them or a relative. And when it's a child, it's just a whole new level of hitting you in the gut. So, for us, the traditional Camp Ooch run, which is of course running down Yonge Street, that's a real huge sort of community boost, but Camp Ooch has managed to continue to sort of keep the flame alive through this pandemic. And it's very inspirational because the cause obviously is very near and dear, and I'm sure the team has encountered a lot of challenges, not just in terms of keeping the run going, but what about just keeping the program alive? So anyways, we're huge fans of Camp Ooch. Looking forward to, this year we're sort of halfway through this virtual run right now. Have to admit, I haven't done my 10K yet. Planning on getting that in before the end of the month. But yeah, it's been really meaningful for us at Goose Digital to be associated with Camp Ooch, and really happy to have Karen on today to sort of give us more of an update.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a great intro, Chris. And I don't think I have a ton to really add to that. I think Chris really sort of highlighted all the things that it means to us. And I think the one thing that we talked about was, as a marketing company, like we sort of have an advantage of being able to do things like a podcast, or customize our website as we feel we need to and stuff like that. And Camp Ooch is one of the things that we put up there and have on our website to let people know that we're involved in it. So yeah, I mean, what we were hoping to do is just, hear from you, Karen, a bit about your role, give us an update, what is, for people maybe that haven't heard a ton about what Camp Ooch is, let's just start with that, like, ground zero, and then anybody jump in.
Yeah, of course. Well, Camp Ooch and Camp Trillium is an organization that provides programs for kids and families affected by childhood cancer here in Ontario. So a lot has changed with COVID, and unfortunately, childhood cancer hasn't stopped with all of this. And so we knew pretty early on that we wanted to continue our mission of bringing that fun and friendship and joy back into these families' lives, especially during COVID. We know that that is more important now than ever when these families are experiencing even more isolation. So that's what we have aimed to do. And the SL10K is a big part of that. We bring the community together, as you said, Chris, and kind of rally around these families and raise funds to keep these programs going. So when everything happened last year, it was also our mission to make sure this event could continue in some way, shape, or form. And we're very, very fortunate. We have incredible partners like your team who have continued to work with us and participate in the 10K and come out sort of virtually in support of us and all these families that we serve. So yeah, that's kind of the overview, I think.
Excellent. Yeah. And your role at the organization, maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Events for our organization. So I oversee the team that works on the Sporting Life 10K, and we also do other events throughout the year as well. So we have some smaller signature events that we do. We have a cycling event. We have an event called Camp Out for Cancer, which is very geared towards, all things camp. I don't know, did any of you go to summer camp? Maybe I'll ask you that.
I have.
Yeah, we were talking about that on our town hall yesterday, I think it was. And it's kind of a mixed bag in our group, actually. Some people, really had a lot of fond memories of summer camp, but then a lot of us maybe just did like 1 day camp or,
Yeah, like shorter stints.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Chris is a mega camp, mega camper. Right, Chris?
Well, I camp now, and maybe it's because I missed the as a kid. Yeah, camp wasn't something, family, whatever. It wasn't something that we did. It wasn't something that was a tradition. Now it's been a tradition for my children. They've all been to camps and so forth. But in terms of actual camping, like I'm a huge proponent of it now. All my vacation days, by the way, Mike, are all booked and they're all camping. So yeah.
There you go.
I think it's an experience that, a lot of people, especially here in Ontario, that we have had some experience with it in one shape or another. And that's this event, Camp Out for Cancer, is sort of all about that, the meaning of camp, what it means to you, rather than, if you're not a runner, perhaps, or a cyclist, you can still get involved in events in a different way. We wanted to kind of provide this option to people so you can do things that kind of celebrate the idea of camp, which is really great because I myself am not a runner. And so you can do things like make s'mores for this event, which is really fun and a little less athletic, but you could also go hiking or actually go out and camp in a tent overnight somewhere, things like that. And then we usually do a gala of some kind during the year. So last year, we did a version of that called the Paddle Project, which was completely virtual because, of course, we couldn't gather. So that's kind of what our team does. And the main objective of that is, again, to bring our community together, to keep people updated on what's been going on with camp and the families that we work with, and raise funds to keep those programs going.
Awesome. I know that normally, Karen, there is in previous summers, like before the pandemic, there's the actual physical Camp Ooch, which helps children who are actually going through chemotherapy, and they actually have ability to kind of treated at the site, which really gives them a chance to enjoy camp, even when they are on very, very heavy and intensive treatment. But this year, and obviously last year as well, that didn't happen. But the adjustments that have been made to make it possible for the kids to be, entertained and engaged in camp-like stuff. Could you talk a little bit about that?
For sure. More in the in-person style programs or in the virtual space?
Yeah, it's the virtual that I'm really I'm excited by, because it was, again, we all know, us being in this sort of the digital world, we have seen over the course of the last year plus how people have made adjustments to that, to go virtual in really all their business kind of stuff. But here was an example of, it's charity. It is a need to sort of adjust to the pandemic, and really having to transform the service into something that was virtual. And that's I think was really inspirational. So that's what I was hoping you might just chat about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we kind of first found out, and when I say we, I mean all of us here in Ontario, found out that we would be headed into a lockdown. That was in March of 2020, which was right before March break of last year. And we had plans to have, day camp over the March break period. And our team really, really quickly pivoted and wanted to make sure, even though we couldn't gather campers and families together for camp in person, that we were still providing something for them to do and to still have fun and just be able to be kids over that week-long break. And that evolved into us providing programs every day. Pretty much we meet new campers in the hospital. So we're continuing to provide our programs in the hospital. That did have to halt originally when we were first in lockdown last year, but we were able at the end of summer 2020 to go back into the hospitals, and the hospital teams kind of welcoming our staff back in was a huge indicator of kind of the value that our programming adds. And even for nurses and doctors who are going in and, they have to do tests, and we call it needle pokes for our campers going through treatment. When they have to do those things for a camper who is just finished making slime with one of our camp counselors in the hospital, that's a very different experience than going into a room where, a child hasn't had as much fun and is kind of dreading the experience. So they were so excited to bring us back in. They were just unbelievably welcoming and made us feel, just so part of the teams in the hospital. And those programs have continued, and we meet kids every day. And
that's good.
And then our virtual programs, we use, this kind of technology to bring those families together and bring kids together. We have some children who have only just been diagnosed in the last year. So their only experience with us so far has been, a little in the hospital and then meeting friends over these kind of chats in a little box. And I think that's going to make our in-person programs a little more kind of special when we finally bring people back together, because it's almost like pen pals meeting for the first time, maybe.
Yeah, true.
When you kind of finally get to meet this friend who you have this bond with, but you've never met in person. And I think that's going to be a really exciting piece of bringing our in-person programs back. But to answer your question, these virtual programs have been just so vast. The programs team who works on creating these, they're so creative and so fun. And we've had programs where we've learned magic tricks, and we've had programs where we've gone under the sea. And we had summer camp programs that were all about, athletics and sports and getting outside. And we've tried to keep them really active. I see kids all the time on these videos, they're up and they're dancing and moving around the living room. And it's just been a great way to continue that connection, continue those kind of moments of joy and fun. And one thing that really stood out to me about the virtual programs and how they are kind of transferring into a real life space was that one of the camper moms we work with, she told us when she was walking through the hospital, she recognized names in the hospital that she knew from these programs. And so even though in the hospital, the regulations are still quite strict and kids aren't allowed to interact with each other and the families try, to keep to themselves, she felt that community in the hospital anyways, because she knew these other families and she recognized them from these Zoom programs and online programs, and was able to feel that solidarity, even though they couldn't actually talk or be together in person. And I think that was a really wonderful way to see how that kind of translates and what our programs are still able to do in this virtual space.
Sure. Yeah, I think the social side of the, because I think with I'm sure this comes up for you guys and for things like younger kids at school, where obviously we don't have that same physical social interaction that you'd get. But I don't really know that we've been able to truly understand the impact of like this, the ability to build relationships over this video type of environment. And I think at first there was a lot of, well, you can't do that. You actually can't, but I think we're realizing that actually you can do a fair bit of that. Now it's never going to replace being able to go see people, but the door is really opened for just creative ways to engage each other and meet each other. And, I've got a son that's doing, programs over Zoom, and in some ways, like I can tell you that he's learned a lot more on some of these topics because it's just the format. And he's able to really take it in. And so I think the jury's kind of out, but I definitely think that sounds pretty awesome for these kids and families to be involved and connect that way.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you tell us, we were talking a little bit about, before we started recording, some of the challenges and maybe some of the benefits of shifting to a virtual run. I know you've said, like, for people like yourself who may not have been able to participate in the past, you now were able to get out there because there's like more time available to you. But have you found that it's been challenging now that you're asking people to run on their own schedule?
Yes, definitely some challenges. To your point, I think not having that route, I don't know who mentioned it, but it's almost famous. We get to run down Yonge Street in Toronto for this run. And that's pretty hard to say no to. It's so rare that street gets closed down. We're very lucky to have that route. And we know people love doing that. And it's also a great route for those who are avid runners. You can get a really good time because it's
going downhill.
a little bit downhill, the whole time. Yeah. So you get that extra boost from gravity. And so it's that route alone that we run, it's just so attractive to people for so many different ways. So to not have the route, we know it's disappointing for some of those runners. And that's definitely been a challenge that we've had to overcome. One of the things we did this year, which we didn't do in our virtual run last year, so kind of our learnings from last year, was to keep some of those people who are more avid runners and really want that challenge. We created a challenge for the SL10K, which was the 10 by 10, where you run 10K 10 times during the month of May. You're doing it?
Yeah.
Michael's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So, and we were really impressed. We estimated that we would have 350 people join that challenge, and it sold out pretty much right away.
Yeah, so. I think when I saw it, because I was a little bit late going in to register, I think there was like 84 left or something. So that might have been the 84th. I was surprised that there was like a limit to it too. I thought, oh yeah, because you're giving out a slightly different, like what was the rationale behind the limit? Maybe you could expand on that.
Yeah, it was a slightly different and more, I guess, athletic elevated kit that we provided to those runners in the challenge. And we just didn't know how much interest there would be. I mean, for me, I hear 100 kilometers in the month, and I just thought that's not for me. And we weren't sure how many people would be gung-ho to do 100 kilometers. So we were really pleasantly surprised with how many people did want to. And it's such a good indication, it was a testing year. And I think over the last year for lots of companies and for our team for sure, as we changed from in-person events to trying to do events like things in a virtual space, we've had to do stuff like this, and we've done little tests to see what's going to work with people, what are people looking for. And I think this is an exciting one. We intend to keep a virtual aspect to the run going forward, even when we can gather together in person again.
I was going to ask you, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and I think to your question as well, the benefits of a virtual is that we actually have had people from all over the world participate in this run.
I was wondering.
Which is so shocking to us as well. We were not expecting, people in Europe or Australia to sign up for this run that we feel is such a kind of Toronto home thing. And that's been really amazing. And previously, we wouldn't have been able to facilitate that at all. And in a virtual space, we didn't have to put a limit on the geography of the run,
right.
Which has opened us up to new audiences, which is wonderful. We love to bring new people into our community and let them know what we're all about. And if they enjoy doing the 10K, then that's even better.
No, for sure. I mean, I loved the energy going down Yonge Street. I was a walker. I'm not a runner. I'm very similar to yourself, but I like getting out and hiking. So it provided a really great opportunity last year and this year to check out some cool ravines and, be in nature. And I think especially for those of us who have been in lockdown for what seems like forever, it's so nice to be outside. So I do really love the virtual programming aspect of it, for sure.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I agree. I think we've heard that from lots of the runners who are excited to be able to do it in a different way. It kind of released them from the limitation of the specific route we have. And then going back to someone's point from earlier, it's also brought teams together. We do have a corporate challenge, which I know you all know very well. And so it's a great opportunity, especially as lots of companies have tried to figure out how everyone can stay connected and continue to have fun with each other in the workplace, in the virtual workplace. It's been a great opportunity for people to join up with the SL10K and, go out and run. I know some companies have even all decided that they would do their 10Ks on the same day. So it would feel, like they were doing it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I think that's also been a really great thing is the energy of running down Yonge Street is something I don't think we could emulate virtually, but there is an energy and maybe a community feeling that we have been able to establish in this virtual space. And that's been really fun to see as well. And really great to be, on a team who's part of helping make that happen. When we know people are looking for that right now, looking for reasons to get outside and looking for reasons to, snap a pic of themselves and send it to the group work chat.
Yeah, I always thought, because for me, sometimes I've seen other people with like the shirt on or like with their gear, let's say my neighborhood, right? So I think there's been like at least 3, like from last year and this year where I've noticed that. And I thought it would be kind of neat if you could have something that it would show you like people that are signed up for the run in your area, but it wouldn't like be creepy and like, see that person running down the road kind of thing, but like something where you could just like have, hey, that's cool. Maybe send a little like high five or some, just be super controlled. So it wasn't again, like a creepy thing, but I thought there's gotta be like a bunch in my area in Burlington that are probably signed up for this run that are either doing a walk or whatever component of it. And I just thought it'd be kind of neat to be able to see, that group or be able to interact with that group a bit. But there's so many opportunities, like you say, that, we're just sort of scratching the surface of the types of things you can do. I did one of the European tours with our kids to Budapest just to see what that was like. And yeah, I mean, like it's never going to replace going there and checking it out firsthand. But this tour guide on his bike was really good. And was riding around in the evening and we all got to like check it out. And it was kind of like, I hope they don't like stop doing that stuff, because now we can jump in and just go on these little tours, and we weren't doing that before.
Yeah, exactly. I think the same thing goes for our programs as well. In the same way, we've really been striving in the last few years to make our programs more accessible to uh, families who are not, in the GTA or in Hamilton or London. And we know that there are lots of families who want to attend our programs, but maybe they live in Sudbury or something like that. And it's been so much easier for those families to join programs in a virtual landscape. And I agree. I think there is kind of an interest across, the community that we want to come back together in person, but we don't want to lose these kind of opportunities that we've had from going to a virtual space.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think we might be able to convince our team, some of our non-runners, to make s'mores on behalf of the camp. So I think I need more details on that for when we get back together, because we've also been thinking about, what that would look like once we start opening things up and what our events locally can be. And I didn't realize that this was something that you guys were offering. So I might follow up with you after on s'mores and other.
So why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk a little bit about, maybe Karen, how you guys are, I mean, it's only May of 2021, not to like date this thing, but like you probably are starting to think about what, things you're going to be doing or what maybe the balance of the year into next year could look like for your programs.
So for our programs, we are going to continue our in-person programs in the hospitals. We're at Sick Kids and McMaster and London Health Sciences, working with kids and families there. And we will continue our virtual programs as well. And for summer camp this year, we're doing similar to what we did last year, which is a camp in a box, which gets delivered to households. So kids and families can have something like a little addition to the screen for some of the programs. And then we're hopeful that, and we're working really hard to be able to bring back in-person programs when the time is right, hopefully as early as this fall, which would mean weekends up at camp at our overnight sites. So kids can be in school during the week and then they get a camp experience on the weekend. This is something that we've done for many, many years. We call them WACs, weekends at camp. And so that's what we're hoping we can open back up again in the fall. And then for our events, we are probably going to be sticking with mostly virtual or kind of remote events for the remainder of this year. And then hoping that it will all be dependent on, the numbers and the regulations, from public health, but we're hopeful that we might be able to get together in person for the SL10K in 2022. So.
Wow. That would be cool. And you said earlier that you're thinking, at least at this point, you might maintain a level of the virtual piece even. Yeah, that's great.
Yes. Well, one thing that we were very fortunate in that we had already planned a virtual aspect of the run for 2020 before this was all happening back in December of 2019, basically during our planning. So we already knew that there was interest from even just places outside of Toronto, but here in Ontario, that people wanted to participate and do the run. And so we had been working to make a virtual aspect to our run available to interested runners. And that was a great decision, because when we ultimately were not able to do our in-person run anymore, we kind of already had a base of planning there for us to build on in terms of how we could have a virtual event. And so that's something that we definitely want to continue doing in the future. And it'll be a hybrid model of running for the SL10K moving forward.
Awesome.
Which is nice, because maybe some of those team members who aren't runners, some people can do the run on the route.
Yeah. And then exactly. And then I think there's sometimes, whatever happens, Mother's Day, you can't make it, but then you can do the other things. So even if you are a runner, or if you're crazy and you just want to do everything, you can do everything. So that's good for the crazies.
Yeah, you could maybe do the run down Yonge
He's
Street.
speaking for himself.
Yeah, you can do 9 more 10Ks before the end of the month.
Virtually. No, we'll still do 10 virtuals, even though we did one physical.
You're upping it to 11.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe unless there's other things that you want to cover off, I think we'll start to wrap up. But are there other things, Karen, that you want to bring up or talk about? Make sure you talk about.
I think the only thing that might be helpful to know is, amid all of this COVID and lockdown happening last year, we actually went through a merger. So Camp Ooch merged with another pediatric oncology camp called Camp Trillium. Over the past 38 years, these two organizations have worked in Ontario to serve kids and families affected by childhood cancer. And really this was a coming together of two great models. Camp Ooch historically really focused on serving kids with cancer themselves. And Camp Trillium had always focused on serving the whole family that is affected when a child is going through a cancer diagnosis and cancer treatment. And so coming together allowed us to, deepen the work that we were doing to provide more to kids and families as they go through a cancer journey. And I think it was actually really wonderful timing that it happened in January of 2020. And then COVID impacted us here, because with these families going through even greater isolation, we were able to do more to support them as a merged team. And so we've still kept our tagline, "We run for Ooch," for the SL10K, but we are the Camp Ooch and Camp Trillium team now. And awesome. I do get a lot of questions about that. So I wanted to
that's great. No, and I think that's something that I'm sure is still, from a branding perspective, takes a while to sink in. That's excellent. I'm sure the added resources and just the added team size really allowed you guys to go further through COVID when it was really needed. We had one quick kind of parting question around, maybe if you could, because we're digital marketing, we're digital players, obviously. Is there anything that kind of stands out in your mind as I don't know, either a lesson, a learning, or something where you said, this particular channel or medium, or anything from a digital side where you really wanted to sort of highlight that was a big deal through this pandemic? I mean, we've already talked about a lot of the virtual programs, but I have to think there's more that you guys kind of went through to really, pull it all together.
Yes, this is a great question. So I think the success of our events, I would like to be able to attribute that to just the incredible community that we have. We did do a lot of digital marketing. We do a lot of email campaigns. You probably all get our emails. And we have a wonderful team that works on that and puts our information out there in a space where people can see that. And that's something that our team is also still learning about. And I think really where we've been very fortunate is we just pick up the phone and we call the runners who have worked with us in the past. And that's been the biggest piece, is we love hearing from people. Everyone has a reason why they do the run. I mean, even hearing from all of you at the beginning of this conversation about what camp means to you and why you chose to start working with us and doing the 10K. Everyone has different stories like that, whether it's because they themselves are, a family who was affected by childhood cancer, or just because you're really passionate about running a 10K or 100K, if you will. I think it's really great to hear those stories and just get into the weeds with people and hear what motivates them, and share with them what we're doing that's new and interesting in the year. And that's what we really see people coming back. I mean, one thing that I can share is last year, we raised over $1.2 million through the Sporting Life 10K, thanks to incredible partners just like all of you. And we had over 12,000 people participate in the run. And a lot of those people have been registered prior to us going virtual.
Sure.
And this year, when we went out with an all virtual run, we knew it was going to be virtual again. We have we have 4,400 participants this year. So significantly fewer people coming out to run, which makes a lot of sense. And we know a lot of other runs and kind of athletic events are seeing that same sort of trend. But we've already reached $1.1 million in fundraising. So those people that have come out to run, just like all of you and your team, are the people who really believe in what we're doing, and they come back for a reason. And we're just so grateful to have people like you running with us again. And that's kind of the biggest thing that we do. So I don't know if that's like a real answer to your question.
No, that is. I definitely think it is. And it was just, I think that's good perspective. I think a lot of companies are going through similar type of situations. So that's awesome, Karen. I think this has been really a great session. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate everything you guys are doing over there. And Chris, did you want to chime in? Because I saw you came off mute.
No, I just wanted to say thanks, Karen, for joining us, and we're really excited again. We're probably about half the team have already done their 10K. I'm among those that has yet to do it, and of course, Mike's in the middle of his 100K. So we're all, as you had mentioned before, we all have our reasons, we all have our stories, but it's all about finding a way to contribute to this population that's going through something so difficult. So thanks for joining us. Really appreciative.
Well, thank you for having me. And you have until the end of the month to do the run or runs. So
you bet I do. All right.
Brand, did you want to? Yeah.
No, I mean, I really do appreciate you joining us and looking for different ways to help motivate parts of the team that aren't runners. I think we actually got some people out this year and their spouses who had never run before. They're walkers, and they did their 10 at Algonquin or wherever they could go out. So, we're very much interested in keeping this tradition going, and any way we can encourage them, we're looking to do that. So
that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Karen.